Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of M&B Live. Hey, I'm Morris Lilienthal. You know, as a lawyer, one of the things that I really cherish is helping people who've been injured or helping people who've been wronged. And I just think speaking up for others in need is such an important cause. And one of the clients, some of the clients that I really enjoy helping the most are our veterans. And here in our Huntsville community and in the great state of Alabama, we have a lot of veterans who stepped up and a lot of people who are still serving and their families that are doing the greatest thing ever, and that's protecting our country and giving us the freedom that we serve and enjoy every day. And with Memorial Day coming up, it's certainly something that we need to reflect upon. But today, I want to talk to you. We've got a special M&B Live to talk about a legal issue affecting a lot of our military veterans and veterans that may have been injured by a corporation and not even know that they have a potential claim. And so I've got as our guest today, Joel Dilorenzo is the founder of the Dilorenzo Law Firm in Birmingham, Alabama. Joel is a trial lawyer with 18 years of experience and has experience handling cases like this, mass tort cases where a large group of people have been injured by a corporation, and he represents a lot of people to try to bring justice on their behalf. And so Joel and I are going to be talking about what sometimes has been called, you may have seen out there, the 3M combat earplug or 3M earplug lawsuit, a lawsuit that is lawsuits that are being brought against the 3M Corporation for defective earplugs that were provided to our veterans and military members a few years ago for a long period of time. So, Joel, thank you for taking the time out of your schedule today to be with us. How are you doing?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on.
Well, it's my pleasure, and I'd like to, because this is something that you specialize in. I know you're handling a lot of these cases. We're working with you on several of these cases. What I'd like to do is, if but kind of talk to people out there. I'd like to clear the water for a lot of people. A lot of times people have never been involved in legal action, never been involved in something like this. I think what I hope to do in today's live is to answer some questions and provide some clear insight about what the legal process is that the veterans have available to them if they qualify, and what are some of the frequently asked questions that you're getting. So first, I thought, tell us generally in big ballpark picture, what are the claims and what's going on with the claims that some of these veterans may qualify for hearing loss?
Okay, let me give you just kind of a background in a nutshell, so to speak, about these cases. These cases involve defective earplugs that were manufactured by 3M Corporation. They were issued to the military between 2003 and 2016. They are very, very specific. They are the dual-sided earplugs, and everybody that we represent knows exactly what I'm talking about. They're yellow on one side, kind of a dark green or black on the other side. And the reason they became so popular is that when 3M initially approached the military, 3M made every assurance to the military and the government that these earplugs were going to be the gold standard, top of the market, best available for any military, whether it be in training or in a combat zone, to use. These were the best. They were dual-sided for two reasons. One of the sides was to provide, allegedly, supposed to provide 100% pure hearing protection. The other side, which is why they were so popular with the military, was it was supposed to protect approximately 80% of the hearing, but would still allow you to hear orders that were given to you in a field of combat. So the military entered into an agreement with 3M to market these earplugs to the military beginning in approximately 2003. Continued to do so all the way through 2016. These lawsuits are being brought because we have now recently discovered, and when I say recently as in the last 4 or 5 months, learned that 3M actually knew that these earplugs were defective. They knew that these earplugs were not providing any type of the hearing protection that they had promised and assured the government that they were. So we are filing individual lawsuits on behalf of individual military members that served between 2003 and 2016. Most of them were probably in a combat zone. However, a lot of the clients that we currently represent, you remember using these while in training exercises stateside. So it's not limited to individuals that served in the military overseas in a combat zone. A lot of them actually may have just been using them here in training exercises. So basically the tent poles of the litigation are if you served at any time between 2003 and 2016, remember using these dual-sided earplugs, and now have either tinnitus, which is ringing in the ears, or some level of hearing loss. Those are the
Okay.
three main hurdles, and if the client can qualify for those three, we're very interested in speaking with them.
Yeah. And as I understand, Joel, being involved in these cases as well, is that these were the only dual-sided earplugs that were issued by the military during this time period. So if you got dual-sided earplugs, these would have been the ones that we're talking about. Is that right?
That is a great point. When we first got into this litigation, we were concerned because we were thinking, oh, good gracious, there's probably 20 different types of dual-sided earplugs that were available to the military. And the deeper we got into it, we learned after speaking to military members, no, these were the only dual-sided earplugs issued to the military throughout that entire time period. So if you use dual-sided earplugs between 2003 and 2016, those were the 3M dual-sided earplugs that we're here to talk about today.
I know that's a question that we get is, well, I'm not sure which ones we got or if that's the ones I used. And, the question we respond with is, were they dual-sided? If it's during the applicable time period, yes, then we know that it has to be the subject earplugs we're talking about.
Correct.
I guess, one of the questions, that I hear and that I think you get a lot when we're talking to clients in this case and in other cases like these is, well, Joel, is this a class action when I hear the word class action, or is this some other kind of case? Can you tell us the distinction between, what a class action is and if this happens to fall into that or if it falls outside of that?
That's a very good question. We get that a lot. A class action is a type of litigation where you've got essentially one class representative up here at the top representing an entire class of other individuals in the very same lawsuit. Now, that type of lawsuit is ideal, and this is a general example I use. That's ideal if everybody in that same class perhaps owned a 2010 Toyota. And that 2010 Toyota found out it had bad brake pads. So the damages for everybody in that class was everybody had a 2010 Toyota and everybody needed new brake pads. No, nothing more, nothing less, just new brake pads. That's an ideal scenario to have a class action. This is a litigation where you're going to have a lot of military members, former soldiers, that are bringing cases against the same defendant, but everybody is going to have their very own individual lawsuit for this reason. Everybody that we've spoken to either has hearing loss, tinnitus, or both. So everybody's damages are similar. However, the level of damages for everybody is different. Therefore, everybody that we represent is going to have their very own lawsuit with their very own case number to make sure that at the end of the day, whether it be in resolution or at a trial, that everybody's case is heard and judged on its own merits, and everybody's damages are just that, their own damages, and consequently their own damage award.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's important because a lot of people, when they think class action, they think, well, the only person getting paid, out there is the lawyer, and it's not worth my hassle the time and do it.
Yeah.
That's not what this is about. I mean, folks, the alleged wrong is the same on everybody in these cases, meaning we're alleging that the earplugs were defective and that 3M knew that, but
Correct.
The damages are individualized. So each person's damages are different, so each person has their own individual claim.
That's absolutely correct, yes.
Yeah. So, folks, if you're just joining us, welcome to an edition of the M&B Live here. We're speaking with trial lawyer Joel Dilorenzo, and we're specifically talking about the 3M lawsuits for veterans who served between 2003 and 2016 and would have used dual-sided earplugs and suffered hearing loss or tinnitus. Folks, if you've got questions or comments and you're watching the live show, please jump right in and say hello or let us know what questions you got. We'll try to get to your question and answer it. I want to thank Michael DeSonor for commenting, telling very interesting litigation. Thanks for sharing. We appreciate you tuning in and give us a little feedback there. But anybody else is watching, let us know. And if you're watching the replay right now, please, if you've got questions, put them in the comments there. We'll watch the feed afterwards and try to get to those questions and response or provide you a resource that may answer some more of your questions there. So Joel, I guess, one of the other questions that I've gotten before is, well, to prove that I qualify, I remember having these earplugs back in 2010 when I was serving, but I don't have them now.
Right.
How do I prove that? Do I need to have these earplugs to be able to make?
Another good question. No. Obviously, the majority of our clients served, obviously, prior to 2016 when they were using these earplugs. Only a handful of those individuals still actually have those earplugs in their possession. So, no, you don't need to be able to provide proof, here are the actual earplugs I used in order to qualify. As long as, like I said, as long as you were in the military using these earplugs at some point in that 13-year time span between 2003 and 2016 and now have hearing loss or tinnitus, we believe that you're going to be able to qualify for this lawsuit.
Yeah.
Yes.
And again, folks, as we said a few minutes ago, talking about, if these were the specific earplugs to use, if you specifically recall using dual-sided earplugs during that time frame, and that's your recollection, and you be willing to swear off to that, then that's going to be sufficient. I think anybody would believe that that's enough. Testimony alone would be enough to do that, with the knowledge that those were the only dual-sided earplugs being provided to military.
That's great. Morris, let me jump in one second, if I may.
Sure.
I thought this would be maybe important for some of your listeners. I want the soldiers that we have not already spoken to, I want everybody to understand this litigation is not against the military or the government. The military and government are as mad as we are about what 3M did. So this litigation is only and will only be against 3M Corporation. This is not against the military. We're not going after the government. This is against an outside contractor that knowingly sold the military these defective earplugs. So I wanted to make sure that was clear in case anybody may have that question in their mind.
I think it's a good point, because a lot of our military clients and friends in the community are always concerned that the litigation, or if they're involved in litigation, may somehow impact their active duty, their ongoing military career, or if they're now retired or a veteran, that may impact somehow their qualification for benefits. This in no way should impact that, in no way, folks. And again, we're not suing the military, we're not suing the government. We are bringing a claim solely against the claims that are being brought against the 3M Corporation, who was in fact contracted and was paid a healthy amount of money to provide a safe product and failed to do so knowingly.
That's correct.
And then, Joel, how do, in terms of their hearing loss or tinnitus, what are the requirements out there for people to qualify or to verify that? Do they have to have that in their disability review from the VA or the military when they were discharged out? Or how are we establishing that they have the hearing loss or tinnitus?
The VA ratings are not by any means the end-all be-all in terms of our investigation. In fact, we have a large number of clients that did not receive a hearing loss rating from the VA upon their discharge. That at this point is irrelevant to our investigation for these cases. Essentially, it's going to be somewhat of a beginning and end timeline examination. One, when you entered the military, did you have good hearing, and did you have any hearing problems? If you could say, no, my hearing was fine when I entered the military, and then upon discharge, yes, I now have ringing in my ears or hearing loss at some point, those are, again, kind of the two endpoints that we're looking at, the beginning of your service and then at the end of your service, to see what changed in that interim. And if that holds true, regardless of what the VA may have rated you, whether they rated you at all, it is irrelevant to our investigation of these cases.
Okay. I want to thank my friend Nick Richwain out in California for joining us. And Nick, I appreciate you sharing that out with experts.com as well. And folks, I'd ask you too, if you're watching this, please share this out, because there's so many people out there that may be impacted by this, that were serving our country, standing up, answering the call, and sadly we're taken advantage of by a greedy corporation here and given a bad product that was supposed to be there to help protect their hearing and was not. Joel, I guess another question that I've got that I get from some clients is, and in fact a recent client asked me this with regard to these cases, is, Morris, how much of time is this going to take? I'm not familiar with litigation. This is something that's going to require a lot of my time and a lot of effort on my part. What are you going to need from me, the client? with regard to this type of case versus, say, another type of case?
Sure, and that's a great question. We get that question a lot. This is going to be a very big litigation. However, we as the attorneys are doing all of the heavy lifting. We have no expectation that we would need you to attend any hearings. At the very beginning of the case, there will be simply some information we need to get from you, which we can do in person or on the phone, written discovery, so to speak, that we would need to answer. You would not need to attend regular hearings or any conferences with the court. That's on us. We were going to be handling that. And as far as a deposition, if your deposition at a time down the road became necessary, we would be doing that at your convenience, at your location, to make it as easy and as time friendly as we possibly can for you. So no, you are not going to need to spend hours, days, weeks by any means away from your family or your job. This is on us, and we appreciate the opportunity to help you, the servicemen and women of the country that helped us. We are more than honored to do the heavy lifting and the litigation.
Yeah. One other point that's kind of a side point that I know this came up for a current client of ours too, that if there's some people out there that may have been issued these earplugs that were contractors that did. And so if people out there that were working on a government contract or securities contract or something that may have been issued these earplugs and suffered hearing loss during the applicable time period, those folks would qualify as well.
Absolutely, yes. Absolutely. Yes, we've got some contractors that were not actually in the military, but were working closely with the military, using these earplugs during that time frame and now having hearing loss will, we believe, make you a qualifying candidate. Yes.
Yeah. Joel, I guess the other big question is what's a time frame on a case like this? A lot of clients are inquisitive about, Morris, how long is this going to take? In addition to just how much time will be on their part, how long do you think this thing's going to drag out?
At this stage in the litigation, this is a very early litigation, but the best guesstimate that I think anybody, myself included, could give at this point would be that we think this is going to have somewhere in the lifespan of between a 12 and 18 month time period, where after that 12 months, by summer of 2020, we're going to know, I believe we're going to have a very, very solid, clear understanding of whether these cases are going to be in a posture for resolution or the next phase, which would be the trial of the cases. So if anybody told you exactly how long this is going to take at this point, I don't think they would be very honest. But just based on the court that we are aware of, the judge that we know, and the way she's handled cases in the past, I think 12 to 18 months is going to give everybody a much clearer, broader picture of where this litigation is going to go.
Okay. Joel, is there any other things that you're hearing from a lot of our military members that had questions that we hadn't touched on? Anything else that you wanted to add before we wrap up today's show?
Other than, like I said, the fact that this is going to involve a large number of military members. A lot of the clients that we've spoken to have actually been willing to pass the word on to other individuals. If you're watching this now and you know anybody else that may have served in the military with you, or someone that served in the military, pass word on to them, because this is something that I promise you affected thousands and thousands and thousands of soldiers that may not have heard about it yet. So that's something that needs to get to them, so we can see if there's something we can do to try to assist them as well.
Yeah, it's a little different scenario than some lawsuits out there where a lot of the plaintiffs would know one another.
Exactly.
Here a lot of times, because of the things that you go through and the life experiences and those things and the bonding that you do in the military that form strong bonds, a lot of those people are probably still in close touch with one another. So
Absolutely.
Certainly would encourage that speak to your brothers and sisters that you serve with and reach out to them and let them know, hey, that they may have a potential claim, and have them reach out to someone to investigate that.
Absolutely.
Joel, I want to thank you for your time today and doing, folks, if you are just tuning in here at the end, this is more slowly involved Martinson Beason. We're here on another M&B Live, and I've got Joel Dilorenzo with the Dilorenzo Law Firm down in Birmingham, and we have been talking about the lawsuit against the 3M Corporation for defective earplugs that were given to our military members from '03 to '16. And if you served during that time, were provided a dual-sided earplug, then you would have provided the subject earplug we've been talking about, and you suffered any kind of hearing loss or tinnitus or ringing in the ears, you probably have a legal claim that's available to you. And we encourage you to reach out to someone to talk to them about that. And if you're looking for someone, Joel or I would both be honored to speak to you. Joel, thank you so much for what you're doing and
Thank
helping
you.
with these cases. And folks, if you've got questions, you're watching the replay, please put them in the comments below. We'll try to get to those comments and see if we can get you some information and resources. That's it for tonight. Thank you so much, Joel.
Appreciate it. Thanks.